All right. So I'm not sure if everybody can see the responses, but then I can certainly do that. Perhaps I have the speaker access. That's why. But if you are not able to as well, I'm just going to read the responses out for you. So 24%. So basically, I would say 35% has actually said that accelerate IT digital transformation is the next best priority, followed by acting as a strategic partner to the business becomes your second priority, followed by aligning IT skills and talent to the changing business need, and customer centricity, and the last one is IT cost efficiency. So I think when it comes to cost efficiencies, I think the world is unanimous for the first time. There are very few matters on which the world would be unanimous, and I'm glad to see that the cost efficiency is something which is sort of getting deprioritized in many markets, including of Eastern Africa and Kenya market as well. That is what I actually see. Now, coming to that, if we really see how the world has actually seen that, so for us, our number one priority after securing data and systems is basically accelerating digital transformation, which is point number three here. In fact, point number five here, accelerate IT digital transformation. That is the second most priority that the group has felt. And I personally feel that these are the market nuances, if you really ask me, because if you ask somebody in the US or in the little mature markets whereby there is a lot of IT investments which has already happened, perhaps for them it is done and dusted thing. But for markets like Africa or Middle East, or for those other markets where we still have a lot of room to grow and a lot of modern IT infrastructure to be placed, I personally feel that IT digital transformation has to be one of the key objectives for all the IT departments out there. I think there, as I said, number six is improve IT cost efficiency, which this group also felt the same. And now with the new results, I think the IT skills and talent aligning both of them with the business needs is also very articulative and is very important to this group too. So I think if you really see the top five, the order for the top five remains more or less same, which certainly tells us that the pain or the opportunities that the global audience is feeling is somewhat similar. The question that I have for the panel, and the first question from my side, is what, according to you, should be the top three objectives for the IT teams in Eastern Africa? We already saw that there is a little reprioritization in terms of the responses from the audience, and it is very important that we see how Eastern Africa or how the markets like Kenya and Nigeria behaves with respect to the IT requirements for 2021 and beyond. So I would like to start this question with Martin. So what do you think of the top three priorities, Martin?
Thanks. Yeah. So no, this is fascinating, and it's great to see, that the feedback from the participants and those here resonate with the findings. I think I probably would stay too far from that. I think digital has been front and center in the last few months. I think probably from an organizational perspective, I'd think of the top three as first and foremost getting digital literacy heightened in the organization, and I'm talking, the digital speak philosophy, way of thinking, mobile first, digital first, and this is across the organization from from the board, business leaders to the rest of the organization. I think that's a priority that we need to push, and I see that as a priority this year. Secondly, will probably be the aspect of your customers. How much do we really know about our customers? I mean, do we have quantifiable objective data? So I think digitizing, or rather mapping out that customer journey, and being able to orchestrate that from a data perspective, and being able to understand, who your customers are, how they interact, and so on, is going to be a big thing. And I think it's emerged in the last year, especially when many businesses were forced to go online. that you're probably struggling targeting your customers, figuring out who to tell what. And then of course security and privacy, that's a huge one. And I think as a third one, I mean, being able to get the trust of your customers and your stakeholders in the digital space is very critical. So I'd say those are my three sort of priorities for the year ahead.
Yeah, so okay, mine, I'd put probably the top priorities, of course, cybersecurity and data protection would remain top for me. Obviously, always important to ensure that as much as you're pushing the digital transformation, to ensure that everything is secured. And secondly, in regards to the personal data of whichever clients or customers you're holding, that this is within whatever regulations or legislations that affect your industry. Next for me would be automation. A big part of now working from home is what we are seeing is we might see a change where we have smaller workforce sitting in the office, and then it's more dispersed. So this physical dispersion also tends to bring up a lot of redundant work, constantly checking your email or certain processes which now need to be automated to free up the time for staff to focus on their key objectives. I don't think anyone's key objective was to write 50 emails in a day. So the automation process, again, even just for IT departments to deal with support queries where, again, this ties into what Martin had said about digital literacy. Right now, of course, one big risk with all working from home is the shadow IT. So how do you ensure that your staff are literate enough to handle certain support queries for themselves, or what you consider FAQs, where do they have somewhere where they can log in, see how they can troubleshoot the issue before they escalate it to IT? Of course, that again does free up a lot of time, and this can be handled through automation. I think thirdly and most importantly would be just IT becoming a revenue center. Right now, everyone's talked about the transformation and supporting business. I think it's time now for IT to take a piece of the business and now actually drive in revenue for the business, as opposed to supporting other stakeholders within the business who actually bring in this revenue. Yeah, I think those are my three.
I think it's the time for the next poll. So I think we've got an idea of what are the key. Yeah, thank you so much, Felix. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is a poll that is in front of us, which is what would be your most important IT initiative for 2021. Request you all to sort of register your responses. Whether it's revise, automate workflows, or improve ability of data to enable business value, upskill, reskill IT staff to better support business needs, improve enablement of business resiliency, or reduce technology complexity. So these are your options. Request you all to take some time and register your responses. So these are the most common IT transformation initiatives planned for 2021. So whether it's revise, automate workflows so we have it in the order of percentage that it's been voted for. So basically, the number one priority initiative for 2021 seems to be the revise, automate workflows to reduce manual dependencies. I think we spoke about that earlier as well. And improve. And the second one seems to be like the improve ability of data to enable business value. So these two seems to be, so basically it's about automating workflows and improving ability of data to improve business value. So these two seems to be the top priorities. Now I'd like to go to the the panelists, to see what they think of the same thing. So this is to Martin and to Michael. What can IT leaders do to make these initiatives successful, right? That's the next thing that we are coming to. So Martin, I think I'll put this out first to you so that you can give your opinions on this.
Right, thanks Deepak. I think that was a good question. Perhaps from our perspective and probably leading on from a point that Michael had made on making IT a revenue center, is so a value center, rather than have it transforming from the current perception as a cost center is to get the culture right. I think if we can elevate or have initiatives that can elevate the digital literacy of the entire organization. I came following off my earlier point. Promote agility and the approach to experimentation. Get that mindset of being able to build innovative solutions to problems that the business itself or its customers have or challenges they've encountered. And probably this leads to the second one around automation. I think there's a massive opportunity to automate. There's great automation platforms out there now and tools that can help you automate workflows and the redundant things that Michael had mentioned, especially in the current setting where the teams are distributed. That's a big opportunity to be able to save on costs and even identify new revenue opportunities. And then finally, perhaps, is the point about getting the right tools and technologies. If you can if a business has identified its priorities and or pain points, I think it's worthwhile investment to get the right tools and technologies to empower your teams to enable the organization to achieve the benefits that digital has to offer. So I think I'll probably position this as the three key things that IT leaders can do to make the initiative successful. That's that. I probably just then hand over the mic here.
Now, thank you so much, Martin, for those three tips. And like you said, is the culture or the mindset which comes on priority, followed by automation, and then finding the right tools which can enable this transformation. So well articulated, Martin. I'm actually not coming on video stream just to save on the network bandwidth. So please excuse my video stream for that perspective. But Michael, over to you. What are the things that you feel can make these initiatives a success? What are some of the pitfalls, or what are some of the things that you have sort of experienced in your career, which is best avoidable, if I may put it this way?
Well, I guess one thing you don't want to avoid, first of all, I'm quite in agreement with what Martin has said, especially the point on culture and the digital literacy. And one thing, especially in making this change to what we consider distributed workforce, one common pitfall is that we tend to apply the same tools and techniques to sort of bring about this culture change, which is quite difficult because you're working from home. There's a certain mindset as to how you do things at home, how you dress at home, how your mind functions and organizes things at home. At the same time, you have to have this culture that is supposed to drive up this IT initiative. So the real pitfall of that is, as much as the only time that culture takes effect into someone is when they are seated on their device and there is some sort of tool or something happening on their device that encourages this growth of this culture, whether it's on their mobile device, on a social platform, or somewhere on one of their production systems. So the challenge would be, how do you get staff when they're not on their devices to build up this culture? Although, of course, I think one thing we tried was always to have Saturday game nights for staff, and started off as trying to have the whole organization, then broke off into different clusters depending on what games they liked. And guys actually got so used to this that until recently, at the start of this year, when people would ask, but shouldn't we start bringing back the physical sessions? And everybody had grown into that culture that now projects would take off and they would conclude without you ever going to the office or meeting anyone physically. So I think that pitfall of just figuring out how to keep staff embedded into your culture during whether it's working distributed of course, again, with what Martin said in regards to the tools, I think right now everyone's key focus when they're picking tools shouldn't be a tool that you want that you can roll back into some sort of a centralized tool. You don't now tools that the tools that you're going to use can work both remotely and centrally, and probably more so that whoever who's providing these tools has a plan to upscale them or to even build them much more efficiently for remote work, because there's a lot of benefits for the remote work as we're seeing, and probably having a hybrid or either remote work would mean focusing mostly to grow your organization in a remote work style, as opposed to this is a temporary situation, so let's invest on something temporary, then we'll revert back to putting everything under one roof. Yeah.
So Michael, I think what Michael and Martin, both of you are actually, alluding to is the fact that coming up with initiatives is one part, but then is the culture, is the mindset, and the right tools, which actually makes any initiative a success across any organization. So if with that said, I think this is a great summary of all the great examples that you shared. Let me move to the next question and begin that with a poll. So to the audience, the next poll is coming your way. Felix, Humphrey, if you guys can actually get us the poll. See, we already discussed about the objectives previously. Then we went into some of the initiatives that somebody can take in the IT organization. The third piece, which is equally critical, that you take those objectives, initiatives, but then how do you measure them? What are some of the KPIs that you would want to or want to consider to measure the efficiency of these initiatives? Okay, so the question is actually on the screen, and so are the options. What do you think is the most important KPI? Is it is it in the area of business operation stability or business resiliency, as we call it? Is it digital business transformation or cybersecurity, incident reporting, impact to the bottom line, or contribution to the job growth of the organization? So we'll just give it some more time. And then thank you so much to all who have actually started submitting their responses to the poll. While the poll responses are still being captured, let me just offer the summary to you. In fact, Felix, if you don't mind just showing these results, I think that would be helpful as well. The results, as I see it, 36%, almost 40% now are actually preferring the progress on digital business transformation, which simply means that everybody is now trying to prioritize on business transformation, and not only prioritize, but also trying to see how it can be measured through the use of KPIs in this particular process. The second next is business operations stability continuity. I think that has been a very traditional sort of KPI area for any of the IT organizations there. How the apps are, what's the uptime, how the business is running smooth and stable, and especially when everybody is working through remote, it makes even more sense to basically start capturing it on an ongoing basis. Then I would say there is a tough tie between the remaining three. I would say again 13-15% each. Cybersecurity incidents, impact to top line as well as to bottom line. Now, let me switch to the report and tell you what the respondents have actually felt about it. So, like us, I think the top two priorities that you see is exactly the same that the audience has responded to. It's just that for us, the order is digital business transformations comes at the top priority for this group. But even if you see for the global respondents too, it's not much of a difference. So it's 62%, or the highest is actually on business resilience. The second one is progress on digital business transformation. And I think these are the two critical components that have taken place in any of the IT organization today across the globe. So the question that I have for my panel, both for Martin and Michael, I would not really, ask Michael and Martin on what they think on the top KPIs, even though that's the part of the question. But then, in the interest of time, I rather want to check with them is what is the right success measure for capturing these KPIs. For example, if we say that progress on digital business transformation is something that we all felt that is one of the most prominent area that needs to be captured, that needs to be tracked, what should be some of the goals or KPIs which can actually tell us that whether the team, whether the organization has gone the right progress on the various business transformation initiatives that have been taken, or for that matter, on the stability and continuity. Martin, since I see you on right now, so over to you for this question, and then we will move to Michael as well.
Yeah, thank you. That's a tricky one.
Sure.
Yeah, I think metrics are always slippery slopes, especially since it can sometimes be subjective. I think we live in a fast transforming world, and I think it's important to know that we're sitting on the right horse, while traveling this world, and I think perhaps the underlying thing is flexibility. I think we need to be flexible and creative too in how we measure the right things within our organizations. I know we've had traditional metrics that have worked in the traditional IT setup or technology as it's perceived to be, that may not be the right fit. Yeah. So, for instance, how do you measure innovation? How do you measure level of transformation or pace or progress in that space? So, I think probably the point I'm making is we need to have an honest conversation amongst ourselves on the right things to measure. There's this, I think Facebook once had this, I don't know if they still have it, one of the philosophies around moving fast and breaking things, So for instance, you could measure, how many experiments is your organization undertaking with customers and even the rate of failure. Sometimes that can actually uncover this intention to push the envelope and think outside the box, which I think would be key for organizations. But then again, also having the right tools is I think is a stepping stone to that. It's a nice entry point. If you have the right tools, people can measure their work online and how they're being able how they're performing. That can enable you start getting some of the data that could help you arrive at the right metrics. So I think let me leave it there. I think those are just some general comments on KPIs, but it would be very interesting to hear also what everyone else thinks.
Sure. No. Thanks so much, Martin. I think one thing that you rightly pointed out is the courage or the flexibility to experiment. I think no KPI or nothing for measurement can actually, kind of measure the kind of flexibility that an organization can offer. So how do you basically create an environment where people can basically experiment and do not afraid to be, to be fail on that. So I think that's a very, very nice insight from you. Michael, the same question for you, but then in your mind or in your experience, what are some of the KPI measurements that you have seen which has kind of worked? And especially with this digital transformation or business transformation, as I am seeing some of the audience making a note in the Q&A. By the way, just a side note to all the audiences. If you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A feature on your browser, and we would be happy to take those questions. And I already see a comment from Georgina on switching the word digital transformation and business transformation. So I absolutely agree with you, Georgina. I think when we are talking about digital transformation, we are talking in the context of business. I don't think we will be, or anybody who has in the professional parlance, and even for this group, our digital transformation is useful only when it is kind of pushing the boundaries for the organization and making it making the business grow. So you would have actually noted that the top line and bottom line impact across all the 3 or 4 sort of stats that we have seen. So business is integral, and digital transformation for business transformation is what we are actually talking about. So from that perspective, Michael, I'm coming back to this question on the KPIs. What are some of the KPIs that you have measured or that you would suggest measuring to address or to sort of track this transformation?
Well, there were quite so many KPIs you could use, of course, depending on what your goal is, what industry you're in. What I prefer to do is to say, do not be data driven when it comes to these KPIs. If you're going to make your decisions purely based on the data you get, so that means the exact data you receive is the exact data used to make the decision. So if one of your indicators was, for example, 40% reduction in something, and you say we've hit 40%, so we've met our target. Well, that works, but I believe that's a very short-term look at it. So I prefer an approach that's called data informed. So data informed is where you are aware of your current performance is at 60%. You need to get it to 40%. But more importantly, how can you optimize that 40% again to a 20%? So one good example of this, though I don't know if everyone would understand this. So there's this online games people play. So we have games which actually look at how you click, how soon you click, how fast you move, the frame rates you're using, and a lot of one of these games are very popular online game that's called Rainbow Siege. Actually found out by how people are playing what new weapons to introduce into the game. And this was a data-informed move as opposed to a data-driven move. As a data-driven move, what they would have seen is that 60% of our players prefer this weapon. But data-informed is I saw 60% of our players prefer this weapon because this weapon is the only one that works best for them because of the internet connection. So how can we put in a weapon that can somehow deal with the lag issues that we have? How can also at the same time not interfere with the esports platform? So this was a data informed. So this KPI wasn't set in stone, so it was data informed as opposed to data driven. And I think all KPIs should be data informed. Thank you.
Wow. This is, I to be very honest with you, Michael, I never thought in that detail where data driven and data informed. I was just kind of, using them without even thinking what would it actually means. And such a great example, Michael. So basically what you're saying is the KPIs are there, the goals are there, but then just do not fall into the data driven sort of conversations. It has to be, as you said, it has to be towards the ground. It has to be something which the market wants, which the users want, and it has to be real to the market and the needs of the market. So thanks so much, Michael, for that, and Martin for these wonderful suggestions and sharing your experiences and some beautiful examples. I am just looking at the clock right now, and I think we are at the top of the hour, but I would certainly want to keep some time for us to basically take any questions if may have. So anybody who is listening to us and interested in asking the questions, please feel free to do that on the Q&A button. While we ask for the questions, let me quickly get into the subsequent section. For me, the subsequent section is basically, I would, as I promised in the beginning of the session, here is what more Freshservice can offer. Beyond to being just IT service desk, I think the one of the utilities that we have seen for our product is this is an extendable service management desk, which means that it's just not for IT, but your marketing, your HR divisions, your finance, facilities, anybody and everyone, all of the department can actually come. And in fact, we drink our own champagne to that extent. So we use the same product internally and we call it Lighthouse. So for example, from HR perspective, you would have a host of services that HR would offer. So if I need, for example, an address proof or something related to my employment in terms of documents, I can simply go on Lighthouse, which is Freshservice, and raise a ticket for the HR department. Internally, it would be routed to the right HR team and the right person, and they would actually work on that ticket, give me a resolution for that ticket, and close it out. So the same ticket management, the same similar workflow, but then for different units of the organization. And that is where we feel that this extendable service management is something which comes very handy for not just for your IT teams, but also for your other divisions. Then you, of course, have the collaboration, analytics, Freddy, which is our AI and automation tools. All of that kind of pegged into this product, which is available on cloud and which is also available across. The only thing that you would need is an active connection or internet. I know there is a comment that has been made by Dr. Yassine, and the comment is basically the availability and affordability of technology and tools. I think if you really ask me, and if I may take this question, and with the advent of cloud technology, the availability part has been rested. So to an extent whereby the only thing that you would need is to basically get an active connectivity. And just because of the fact that you just need active connectivity and a working browser, that is all what you need in order to access the data or access the platform. So the software as a service or platform as a service, these services which are on the cloud are basically ensuring that they are available 24/7 when the customer needs or when the employees need it the best. So, and then I would tie it back to the research report and the findings too, whereby in the beginning we saw how cloud technology is being adopted. Almost 90+% market has already, kind of experimented with cloud, and majority of them are sort of, seeing exceeding expectations with the implementations. So that availability is addressed. Affordability, I would say, it's a very subjective terminology. Affordability for an organization is also from the perspective of whether you just want to keep it for IT, or you have, for example, in the context of the ESM, sorry, that is extendable service management, as I mentioned. If there is just one platform which could actually, do justice to various other organizations and kind of offer you a host of services, then I think the affordability or the ROI of that platform becomes quite handy for you. There are many products out there in the market, but I can certainly talk for Freshservice, and especially in the context of Africa market too. We basically kind of commissioned Forrester to do a total economic impact study. Basically, that's Forrester's, I would say, a proprietary model on which they select and talk to various customers of our product. And then it's the sanctity of this report is as much that they do not even share who they are going to speaking with, and so on and so forth. So that report from Forrester actually saw the ROI for Freshservice to be in line of 3x. So more than 3x of the return on the investments, and with a payback period of, I think it was 6 months or less. So basically, whatever investments were made, our customers have seen 3x more returns coming in the form of, and through the discussion and conversation, we have seen that how cost efficiency is not the right perspective today. It's more of the ROI, as affordable as any other technology could be. So I hope I addressed your question, Yassine. And if there are any other questions, we would be happy to take that. While I also pull up the last poll just to get your interest. If any one of you is interested in to know and also to see a demo for Freshservice, we would be more than happy to line you up with our technical team who would be, doing a demo for you. And in fact, if you're interested, we can do that. That's the last poll. If Felix and if you are interested, options are in front of your screen. Just let us know.